In December 2014, 15 Rhino Disharmony ambassadors, including 6 artists and a camera crew, gathered at Matswari Private Game Reserve bordering the Kruger National Park in South Africa. Their goal? To kick off the Rhino Disharmony campaign to create a global voice against rhino poaching. Hosted by Marion and Fabrice Orengard de la Mézière, the aim is for the artists, through their work, to raise awareness of the harmful, destructive effects of the slaughtering of rhinos by poachers. In Asian cultures, maintaining harmony is an important value. It means health, good weather, and good fortune, while disharmony leads to disease, disaster, and bad luck. The aim of the Rhino Disharmony ambassadors is to try and convince the affluent East Asian users of rhino horn that the unsustainable and cruel destruction of rhinos for their horns causes a disruption in nature that leads to overall disharmony in the users' lives.
The reason for disharmony is because by losing a species, and if it's not a rhino, any species for that matter, causes disharmony because nature is perfectly knitted together with every being and every little facet, every leaf, every whatever. It's all knitted together, and if you break that harmony, you create disharmony.
And if people are starting to talk about it worldwide, all the consumer will slowly hear about it more and more and more, and hopefully it will change their habits and way to consume these horns.
Photographer Friederike von Stackelberg also feels that if more people could experience the harmony that exists in nature, they would not destroy it.
Well, for me, it's really part of all of this. When you're here, you feel there's so much perfection. Everything just comes together. And if you take just one thing out of it, everything is in disharmony. It's not the same. I think many people in the East haven't experienced the bush the way it is. So for them, a rhino horn is a very abstract kind of thing. So once they would experience the bush and the nature and see the harmony that exists here, they would actually see how bad it is to destroy that. I just hope that I can kind of transfer the energy and images that capture that message to Asia. And I hope that someone there will see it and it reaches then the end user. That's actually the target.
But for now, the target is the rhino. And sadly, 2 weeks before the Disharmony ambassadors arrived at Matswari, the first rhino had been poached on the reserve. All that was left of the male white rhino after the hyenas and vultures had had their pickings were 2 of the hooves and the spine.
It's terrible. It's a crime. And it happened in this property that's right here. And, every day we have a ranger, taking the guests and showing the guests, and this is how can they even sneak into this property?
It's heart-wrenching when you actually see it. You're feeling it. Here we are. This was alive a few weeks ago.
Game Ranger Chad Cocking explains that the substance of the hoof, as well as that of the horn, is keratin, very similar to human fingernail.
I could sell this, the same substance as a horn?
Yeah, it's all based on this keratin compound. The keratin in the horn is a slightly different chemical makeup to our, everyone's saying just getting our fingernails and our hair, and it is a bit different, but it's the cultural belief behind what it's used for rather than just the actual substance itself. But it's very sad to think that was part, or should still be part of a living rhino.
As an artist and owner of Matswari Private Game Reserve, Marion was moved by the loss of the rhino.
After the event of the death of this rhino, I thought long and hard, how do I work with this in my heart and in my conscience? And then I realized that in fact it's a world consciousness. And so I've chosen to show this human being with a dark outlook and carrying on our consciousness the death of this animal that should not be dead. And this is a drawing of the very rhino that I encountered. Everybody is affected by it, close, and then there are ripple effects out. So I'm hoping that this will reach other people's consciousness as well.
But why choose art as a medium to communicate this message?
It's quite logical for me to reach into the first thing that I know best, and that is art, being an artist myself. We are not academics, so we want to reach the man in the street and the man in in other continents and women in other continents. So that's how we've gone through the art and talent world.
And I have to add that, in fact, art is a universal way to
It's a
communicate.
universal language, exactly.
Any language will understand the pieces that we are going to show.
Yeah, they are universal.
And so is music a universal language, and the spark to the Disharmony campaign. It is fitting that the campaign's lead ambassador and first activator, Tian Zhang, a concert pianist and composer, was born in China. Tian had first visited Motswari in 2012 and decided he wanted to perform concerts in the bush. Fabrice and Marion had a piano brought in, and during his second concert in 2014, he and Marion performed a visual and sound duet, with Tian playing a grand piano in the bush while Marion created a painting of a rhino inspired by the music. Also fitting is that he teamed up with South Africa's lead singer of Freshly Ground, Zolani Mohale. They met for the first time at Motswari and immediately set about preparing a piano composition of Tian's with lyrics from Zolani.
The music is very sad.
Yeah.
It's about Rhino, you know, I mean, you're going to write beautiful lyrics on top of it and describe a tragedy and a sadness. When I compose music for Rhino, it's basically that I first imagine this big animal and very strong, and at the end when Rhino been killed and dead on the ground, is really, that is the moment my heart pumping the most, and I put all the emotion into the music. Music is actually a language without words, and it's very powerful, and many listeners, they can actually imagine that what happened. Everyone has their own interpretation in their own mind, own heart, and but through music, and it creates emotion, so let them feel, and the tragedy. So the harmony, how I create, also very important. Yeah.
A big part of the reason that why I'm here is, I guess, being African. You always, people always associate being African with nature, and things. And I guess in part that is quite true. I mean, so many people talk about Africa being kind of the heart of the world, and that connection with nature is such a big part of our reality. That when this project, the Disharmony, when I heard about that idea, it just made so much sense, because that is actually what we're doing, human beings, is we are disturbing the balance of the world. Right. And so I had to be here, for sure.
2 nights later, they presented for the first time the new composition with Zolani's lyrics to the rest of the ambassadors at Motswari.
Normally in Carnegie Hall or with the Royal Symphony Orchestra, I would play Steinway piano, grand Steinway piano. It's a 9-foot concert grand. So I reduced to a tiny little piano. It's almost like symbolic of the Rhino horn, reduced, cut off. So it was so painful, that's why it's red. And Zolani, I'm so happy that she will sing one of my own original composition. It is called Sagong. I composed, and I felt this music is very sad. How to say that the emotional. And there was a beautiful melody, and only I really think she can bring that spirit out. Thank you. You can hear The music is very sad. That's how we like to end tonight's performance, because it's a very, very sad moment. The rhino has been killed just recently, 2 weeks ago. So let's just end the concert in this mode.
To lift the spirits, one evening Motswari head ranger and photographer Chad Cocking took the ambassadors on a walk to see some live rhinos before dark. With Chad's knowledge of the terrain, they soon came across a mother and her calf. On hearing the group approach, the two quickly set off and joined up with the fully grown rhino bull. Chad, who has spent many hours in the presence of these magnificent creatures, would like the end users to stop buying rhino horn, as it really is of no value at all.
I would really like them to help spread the word for the need to stop the poaching, just to make the people on the other side of the world, in China, in Vietnam, in Asia, just to realize how beautiful these creatures are, and they deserve to live just for being rhinos. I would ask them just to think twice before they go and spend all their money on something that's not actually going to do anything. Any social status that they think it's going to bring them is only causing disharmony amongst our rhinos on the other side of the world. And I'm hoping that my images and this project, what the artists are doing, can help travel across social media and just bring these images of beautiful creatures into the homes of people that weren't previously aware of what was going on.
I understand these people who are really sourcing this rhino horn, it's educated people. So to try and give the education to the people, I don't think that will actually help much. But certainly I would like to make them aware that what is actually happening, because if the rhino become extinct, we will not able to talk about rhino in the next 40 years. It will eventually vanish in our minds, same as dinosaurs.
Amongst the artists preparing the images for the project was Cape Town-based fine artist Beezy Bailey.
Angels Without Shadows on Fire is the name of this painting that describes the plight of rhinos and the fact that very soon they might not be existing on the earth and just will become angels. And On Fire describes the fact that they are in big, big trouble. We have to get a message across to the whole world, and especially the Far East, to express the deep importance of stopping rhino horn trade and stopping the ridiculous consumption of rhino horn for so-called medicinal purposes. During the time it's taken to say these words, approximately 30 to 40 seconds, is as long as it takes to dehorn a rhino from a merciless, murderous poacher.
Beezy then gave the ambassadors a bloody experience of what it might feel like to be a poached rhino. Beezy's friend and artist Baron de Wet crocheted rhino horns, which were to be used in an enactment of a rhino poaching event.
I'm making the rhino horn. While doing this, I'm thinking of the rhino and its misfortune. All the people that's here working on this, and the whole group effort is making some education for people then not to kill these animals in such a very crude way.
Beezy and Barent looked for a site on the Motswari Reserve to stage a dramatized rhino poaching scene. Barent choreographed the rhinos that were played by some of the Motswari staff, who would be dressed up in the crocheted outfits and rhino horns that he had prepared. This was to be the big event of the 4-day visit to Motswari. The final event was a visit to the Hoedspruit Endangered Species Centre, where a young orphan rhino was being rehabilitated after it was found next to the body of its mother, who'd been killed by poachers for her horn.
His mom was poached and he was left for 2 days next to her body before they found him. On his arrival, he was 3 months old and very, very stressed. And it took him quite a few days to adjust to the new system and the new artificial environment that he's in. Hey, Bubs.
I feel sorry for his parents. It's a magical moment to be here, to be so close to the baby. And I like to compose some of the music for him.
Hey, are you talking to me?
Hey, there you go. Yeah? Yeah? That's it. That's it. Hey, Bubs. Yeah.
He's loving that.
You're getting cuddles. He's hard. He feels like dried out leather. It's heartbreaking to hear a baby rhino cry. If you think of the brutality behind the reason why he came here, it's gut-wrenching. You have to be strong and look on the positive side that you've actually saved him. Hey, Baba. Hi, Liffy.
I feel angry at the same time and very feel sorry for him, for the baby. He's right there.
The companion animal Lummy is part of the important strategy of how you rehabilitate rhinos. You have to give them a companion, and instead of having people around them all the time, we got him a little sheep. The bond between Lummy and Gertjie is very, very strong. They are inseparable. It wasn't an instant bond in the beginning, but it worked out perfectly. They are an example of a perfect couple. The number of orphaned rhinos throughout South Africa is alarming, and it's orphans due to poaching. I cry silently when nobody sees, but I cry for them. When you spend moments alone with them, when you walk out in the wild and they accept their new fate and they love every bit of what they experience around them, and you realize that they actually can move on much better than people do. That makes me cry. It makes me appreciate them. I just want to thank you for bringing the message to your people. For us, it feels like we are fighting this war against a brick wall, and here you come and silently infiltrate that wall and just deliver the message that it's not necessary to harm them. There's no real reason. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will pass on the message, and I will do everything I can through music, through feeling, through emotion. And I feel very sorry for the baby rhino.
Thank you.
In the weeks after the Motswari event, more artists started joining the Rhino Disharmony campaign.
So behind me we've got the rhinosaur. I'm calling it the rhinosaur because if we end up with no more rhinos left, it will be like the dinosaur and be extinct. The idea of the rhinosaur is that we're taking a three-dimensional iconic animal with space and volume, and if you look through the sights of the rifle, it will be reduced to a one-dimensional image. So the idea is that once it's gone and it's extinct, that's all we'll have left of the rhino is a one-dimensional image in the history books. And I think that the most important thing that we can do is create awareness. So I challenge every artist out there to please do whatever you can to make people aware of the plight of the rhino.
2.5 decades have passed since I started creating an awareness of the disappearance of our rhinos, showing that our wildlife and human behavior is in disharmony. The purpose of creating art, as I do, is to evoke our humility as well as our willingness to reevaluate human selfish propensity for greed. My art is a criticism to remind us that it is nature we are dismissing. Just 200 years ago, man had to be protected from the beasts. Today, man has become the beast. It is wildlife that needs our protecting. Nature devoted eons to achieving harmony. Humans have perfected the devastation in their deluded rule of fauna and flora. The evolution of destroying our environment will impact on us all, the end being an uninhabitable earth due to the disrespect of Gaia.
I've been outraged by the killing of rhinos for a very long time. By 2010, I heard that there were 300 rhinos a year being killed. And I was moved to do this one, South Africa's Big Five. And see, the fifth one is not a rhino anymore. You know, these other animals are kind of looking across to this helicopter filled with rhino horn, which is what we're going to be left with. And then by last year, it's unbelievable, but it was 1,200 rhinos a year being killed. And I asked this question, why are the Vietnamese slaughtering our rhinos? Because they've already killed all of theirs. The last Javan rhino was killed in Vietnam in 2010, and the Vietnamese are a huge part of the syndicates in that chain of exploitation that is happening, where you have super rich people, and you have middlemen, and then you have exploited people here in Africa, and that's how the rhinos are being killed, and it's got to stop.
In addition, a concert was organized in Cape Town featuring the work of the artists and attended by local and international dignitaries and Rhino Disharmony ambassadors. At the end of the concert, pianist Tian Zhang apologized to the rhinos on behalf of the Chinese people.
This is the apology to the rhinos on behalf of mankind and what we've done to them. Tian, lead the way.
I'm very sorry for all those rhino, the mother and the baby being killed. And being a Chinese, and I like to send a message to Far East, and really they should just not to, continue that business. And my piece, Stop the Killing, is the purpose to tell the world we need to aware this very, very big crisis in the last, couple years. So I'm very, very sorry for the rhino, and here I'm sorry.
I have to say thank you to everybody who has joined us this evening. Please take the message out. I know not many of you are on Facebook, but that's where it's the most prevalent, because we're trying to reach the youth